Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. Bones, and today I'm going to showcase my very first build video, the Skeleton Factory. The entire cost is going to be included in 1.5 boxes here. I'm going to go ahead and showcase that for you now. The skulls are structural. The total cost of the build is about 13 trees, 9 metal nodes, and 10 stone nodes, farmed with a metal tool. If we go into the base, you see a vending machine on the right as well as 2 garage doors. The leftmost one leads to the roof. Under the floor here, you'll see the pixel gap bunker. One more garage door and we're up to the roof. Completely unfinished. You go ahead and add a shooting floor or do whatever you like up here. It's really up to you. Going into the core of the base, we have one sheet metal door as well as the stability bunker. On the left side, we have a shotgun trap, a locker, and 3 furnaces behind a reinforced glass window. On the right side here, we have another shotgun trap, a small loot room with the workbench, and a TC loot room. We'll go ahead and exit the base, and I will show you how to build it. This base starts from a humble 2x1 starter with a wooden door frame instead of a triangular airlock. It is important to make sure that you keep the single door frame wood, as it will be hatcheted out later. We're going to go ahead and use a double wooden door here facing towards the single door in order to create a makeshift airlock. This is good enough for now, but will not stop teams trying to push people through, so keep that in mind. The TC as well as 2 small boxes can fit in here. You also go ahead and throw in your sleeping bag on this side of the TC in order to make it less visible when the double doors open. Right here we'll see the workbench as well as space for a furnace. Obviously this is all subject to change. Go ahead and do whatever you like with the space you have. Stage 2, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to make the first stability bunker. We're going to build out 3 triangles as well as 1 raised triangle with 2 single door frames. These single doors, I will use sheet metal, but it's not completely required for the raid cost at this point, as it will be 4 rockets regardless, considering this is going to be a stone bunker. So if you're very hard up on metal, you can use wood. We're going to go ahead and hatchet out this door frame. That's why we left it wood earlier. Place 4 half walls, 2 on each side, removing the bottom half, and make sure that the hard side is facing towards the single door. And then we've got our first bunker started. All you need to do is close it, a half wall right there, as well as the ceiling, which you can upgrade to whatever material you like. At this stage, it doesn't make sense to make it higher than stone. And then we're going to finish it off with a twig build up here. We're going to go around the back in order to create the TC loot room. We're going to create a makeshift shelf. If you've built any amount of bases, you've already seen this 1,000 times. I'm going to go ahead and upgrade the portion of the base I'm showing in the video to sheet metal in order to increase the raid cost to 8 at this point. Not much changes here, aside from just upgrading a few things to metal. If you're very tight up on metal, it is possible to honeycomb this all with stone instead, but I definitely recommend metaling it up as soon as possible. I'm going to make this triangle wood, as it doesn't really add to raid cost. It doesn't really matter what material it's made out of. Later on we'll upgrade it just to make it so that we don't accidentally destroy it and lose some boxes in the progress. I'm going to go ahead and create a very basic standard loot room here for the TC, to start off at least. 4 large boxes and 2 small boxes. Again, if you've watched any amount of build videos, you've seen this done 1,000 times. And then of course, no matter how many times you've done this, it may require 1 or 2 extra tries to get everything lined up correctly. I like to use a small box here to jump up. It makes placing a little easier. At this stage, I'm going to go ahead and replace the workbench with a tier 2. And then again, in order to preserve raid cost, you do not actually need to place a garage door or any door there right now, although you are free to do so if you wish. Alright, stage 4, just going to add a little bit of honeycomb here in order to increase the raid cost to 11 rockets. You only need to honeycomb what I'm showing in the video here. Of course, again, you may add honeycomb in excess. That may increase raid costs through one path, but the purpose of this video is to mostly create an all-around balanced base throughout every step. We're basically just upgrading and adding honeycomb to the TC square, as I'm now going to add a garage door to it. Now, if you do not have a garage door, you can go and add extra honeycomb to the rest of the base, and that should make up, for the most part, the 3 rockets you will lose out on. You may have already noticed I made, I believe, one mistake, which I will come to later on. There was a piece of twig outside I forgot to upgrade. Go ahead and move your 3 furnaces to that triangle right there. Do not add the window yet. And then I'm going to go ahead and add the garage door. Just a quick once around. Again, you might be able to see the twig foundation that I forgot to upgrade. I will show that later on in the video. Alright, stage 5, we're on to the second bunker. We're going to build 1 square and then 9 triangles out. And then another square. Go ahead and remove the triangles before continuing so that you do not accidentally attach this last square to the wrong foundation. It's important that when you're drawing the squares out to connect, that you make sure you connect them to the right socket, to make sure you connect them to the square that you placed outside of your base and not the square that's already connected. Make sure that there is a gap in the floor before you go ahead and finish this all up. It'd be a shame to waste all this stone on nothing. Double check, make sure the gap, make sure you can loot. Again, you're going to want to make sure that you can also authorize all of your teammates onto those boxes, because they will not be accessible later on. I'm going to go ahead and flesh out the front room here. Again, you can do this however you like. These could all be walls if you want. You could do 2 shop fronts instead of a window. Completely up to you. The reason the vending machine goes right there is because it's mostly supposed to be used for quick sales or sales while you're online. Obviously, it's only protected by 1 sheet metal door in this stage. The reason it's there and not on the other side is because it would actually possibly affect raid cost. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and start upgrading a couple of tiles to armored. These are imperative at this stage of the base. Just a few tiles, it shouldn't be too expensive. Then, real quick, you're going to need to go ahead and put down a locker if you are using one before adding this window, because if you put down the window first, the locker will not place. I've tried. And then, as the little tooltip says, you will need to upgrade that window to metal in order to preserve raid cost and prevent people from picking it. That won't actually add raid cost until the final stage, but you may as well go ahead and do that now. Just throwing down a few more boxes. These will obviously be moved by the final stage. This is just sort of where I'd imagine you'd be when it comes to loot storage, where your base is currently. Again, this is basically a solo duo base, so if you have any more people than that, you're probably going to want to quickly expand or use a different base design. Alright, we're going to take a quick look around here, and we're going to upgrade this first layer of honeycomb to sheet metal. Basically all of the honeycomb around the TC room. And there I noticed my first mistake. And you might be able to see my second mistake. We will get back to that later. I promise I will correct it. And then all you need to do for the honeycomb around the other square is make it stout. Obviously, if you do have extra metal, you're free to go ahead and upgrade these things in excess, but it will not add to the raid cost, assuming they use the most efficient path. That square of honeycomb is also imperative to the raid cost, so make sure you don't forget that. Then lastly, we're gonna have to go ahead and pick out that stone frame in order to place a garage door. This will affect raid cost. And then when we go back into the base, I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick look around before getting onto the final stage, which is where we'll upgrade to the base to the 21 to 24 rocket range. Basically, we'll make all the final changes. These loot rooms are a huge pain in the butt, so make sure that you practice on a build server a bit before you actually go to make them here. If you are going to use my same loot rooms, even I take a handful of tries to get them right, so unless you want to lose out on a bunch of box durability, picking them up over and over again, I recommend giving it a little bit of practice here. The box under the barbecue will need to be pushed all the way back for this to work. Even building this 100 times, it probably took me about 3 or 4 tries to get this right, so just keep that in mind. You can see the moment I get frustrated here. So we'll go ahead and try that again. We want it out far enough so that you can loot the small box under the workbench while still not being out too far to where you can't place your bag. Place the shotgun trap. And then we're going to begin upgrading things to their final stage here. You're going to have to remove a few boxes in order to upgrade absolutely everything to armored here. Essentially, it's just basically the entire bit of the 2x1 will be armored, as well as a handful of squares and triangles near the furnace room. And then I'm going to have to go ahead and remove the shotgun trap one more time in order to get this bag placed. Don't give up, it will fit. And then we're going to replace it one last time. Just taking a little walk through, making sure everything is correct. There's a little bit more upgrading to do. But first I'm going to go ahead and place this double door frame as well as a garage door right here. This is important for raid cost. I'm going to come back in and replace these two with armored. And then I actually replace these with sheet metal. This is not necessary for raid cost. It will increase the cost through one avenue of raiding, but is not completely necessary. I'm just going to go ahead and take one last little looky-loo through here. This is where I notice yet another mistake here. Just go and upgrade that to sheet metal. Make sure all the squares surrounding the TC room are sheet metal. And then one more. Alright, and that is the complete base build. On the screen I have a little code you can use if you use Builder's Sanctuary. It's a server on Rust. If you put in that code, you will get to a server that displays every single stage of this base. It will make it much easier as a quick reference, so that as you go through and build stage by stage, you can simply hop on the server, look at the stage you're trying to build, and build it just from reference. And as the video text just said, I very much appreciate you watching. You have a nice day.